Welcome back to Game of Thrones, the Game of Thrones recap show that's all about the ladies. Our current standings have altered just slightly from last week. We currently have a tie for third place between Sansa Stark and Daenerys Targaryen. In second is Olenna Tyrell, who still has 10 points. And thanks to a perma-vote from a dear friend by the name of Will Sterling for Arya, she's now taken the lead with 11. So this week,
sausage fest.
Yeah, definitely a sausage fest.
Bunch of hunks in leather, but not a lot of ladies.
That's the thing about the Wall and people being banished there to live lives of celibacy and sadness. Gilly's not a player in this competition, nor do I think she should be.
But I love her.
But I love her. She's lovely.
Yay.
And you know what? Good for her for making it back to the Wall.
Her reward is not getting slaughtered in Molestown.
Yeah.
That's her reward.
It's because she's fucking smart. That's
She
why.
is.
She knew that wasn't an owl. She knew.
knew.
She was like, that's not an owl. I'm a wildling. Why are you questioning me?
Exactly.
I'm
I
a-
may be inbred, I'm not stupid.
Right? Thank you. And then made it all the way back to Castle Black from Molestown
by herself! With an infant! Yeah.
So, pretty good.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
Yeah. Not really playing the Game of Thrones per se, but surviving.
I'd give her survival points if that's what we were scoring.
Yeah. Alas, it's not.
No. And makeup points.
Though really that was more on Sam's.
If this was called Game of Sam Getting Some, there would be points. You know who didn't get some this episode?
Ygritte was in the episode
And she was killing dudes
yeah.
left and right.
Yeah.
Until she wasn't.
It does bring up the interesting question of when she and Jon Snow locked eyes and she had an arrow pointed at him, clearly intending to kill him before she herself was killed. Mm-hmm. It does kind of make you wonder if she had not been killed, if she'd not been interrupted, would she have shot him?
I think she would have shot him. I don't know if she would have mortally wounded him.
I am going to take the position of I don't think she would have.
Yeah.
I think up until that point, she thought she could, but I think as soon as she sees him and his first response is just to smile that he gets to see her again, I think her plan in her head, it's kind of like a breakup where you're like, when I see my ex-boyfriend again, he's going to be a jerk, and then I'm going to beat him up, and then he's like a cool guy when you're like, that's not how that was supposed to go.
Ultimately, she is still a compassionate person. Mm-hmm. And that's not a bad thing. No. Unfortunately, having that moment of compassion and considering whether or not to go through with her apparent intention to kill Jon Snow, she was killed. Mm-hmm. So.
By a 10-year-old. Who then does the Westeros equivalent of I know that she loses major points for being dead, but I would argue up until her dying, she kind of deserves a point for standing up to the scariest cannibal in all the land.
Yeah.
So I would totally give her points if she wasn't dead.
She wasn't myrtle-urdled.
But she's been myrtle-urdled
by a Boy Scout.
So we can give her a point, and that'll have her at 3, and that'll be it for Ygritte. And since the episode was otherwise a total sausage fest, that is it for this episode of Game of Thrones. One more episode left, guys. Keep casting your votes for who you would like to receive points in this competition. It's fair game now. Any lady that's on the board, vote for them. We want to hear about it. You can tell us why, or you can just give them points, whatever. And you can do that by following us on Twitter at NerdStreet, or you can find us on Instagram and Tumblr and Facebook. All of those are acceptable locations for casting your votes for who you think should win Game of Thrones. Also, be sure to like the video if you liked it, and subscribe to our channel, and tune back in next week for our recap of the final episode of this season of Game of Thrones.